Ticking off our this morning list, a man who's rarely out of the spotlight, especially at the moment.
Yes, before we meet him, here's just a flavour of the musical life of Peter James Andre.
Oh, mysterious girl, move your body close to mine. Close to mine. In my heart, I feel you running away from my love. Why you running away from my love? Max back with a flavor of the year. Here we go, there's a party over here. Oh yes there is. Flip it down, throw your hands up in the air. Max back with a flavor of the year. That's right, I'm kicking new flavor. This is insanity.
Well, 5 years after the release of his last single, Insania, Peter Andre is back with a new sound, new single, new album, and actually something of a new look. You're very skinny.
Yes, I have lost a lot of weight, although today, judging by all the cakes that are being made, I think that might change by this afternoon. But yeah, I have lost a lot of weight, which, you know, there's a positive to that as well, I guess. But I was just looking at some of those videos thinking, I've committed some crimes, haven't I?
Haven't we all?
I have committed some crimes.
You can't look back over 15 years without thinking, what was that
Yeah.
about? But then you have to remember that's what everyone was doing
Yeah,
at the
of
time.
course. I mean, Mysterious Girl, you know, that is 15 years old now. And
Gosh.
I still think, you know, I'm very proud of that because of what it did. But some of the others, Flavour, doing my shirt, thinking, oh no, oh no.
And we're going to come to the... because you're here to talk music today, and we're going to come to that, obviously, in a minute. But I do want to ask you about what's happening in your life at the moment. And it's difficult for us because, you know, you and Katie have been in here so many times
I know.
as mates. You know, you've done all our celebrity stuff, you've done our competitions, you know, you've been in here a lot. And so when all this started a few months ago, you know, to leak out sort of officially in the public eye, you know, we were as surprised as anybody else because, you know, you were known for your bickering, but we didn't ever think that perhaps it was quite as serious as this.
Yeah, look, what I've done, and I hope you will understand this, is I've purposely not spoken about this, and there's a reason for it. And I did mention yesterday I'm in a bit of a rock and a hard place because here it is, when you don't speak, you only hear one side of the story. But when you do speak, you have to think long term. Right now, it would benefit me to speak, right, to say things. And there's a lot I would want to say. But long term, I know the kids are going to grow up. I know they're going to look back at everything. So I'm trying my best just so that they don't have to say, well, Dad, why did you say this? Or, you know, whatever. I just think it's the right thing to do. So when I do get asked these kind of questions, I just try and avoid. You know, I do look back at the times we all had here, and it was fantastic, you know, fantastic memories here.
When we saw the programme last week with Katie being interviewed by peers, she did, and, you know, forgive me for asking these questions, but people are interested and you answer it the way you want to answer it. But when she revealed that, sadly, you lost the baby a few months ago, it was a horrible thing for her to go through, for you to go through. And I guess you didn't want to speak about it, but it hurt you.
Never.
Because, is that the reason why you broke up? Is that the reason?
Look, I have said before, so it's okay to say that there's more than one reason, there's more than 5 reasons. There's a lot of reasons. I just hope people will not just think something could be as easy or as simple as that. I don't think anyone really would think that.
I think there are people who might think, you know, that perhaps one day there might be a reconciliation, that you could get back together again.
Yeah, I think what's done is done, and I think you have to move on, and I don't say that happily, I just say it because it is what it is.
Well, you need to protect yourself and your children.
Yeah, I mean, the kids, they are everything. Anyone that knows me, anyone that's ever known me, knows all I ever wanted to have was children. Now that I've got them, I'm going to protect them with everything I've got. Yes, we are in the public eye, so yes, things are going to be made up. There's going to be things in the press, he said, she said. The main thing is that when someone hears me speak, I don't say anything bad about the mother of my children. Now, that's how it's been up to this point, and I hope it carries on like that.
You
Do
live...
you now
sorry, Fern.
regret the intrusion of the reality show, the cameras around you?
It's our fault.
You've got a camera here today following you. Is that for a separate show of your own?
It's, well, to answer the first part of the question, it's our fault. We cannot complain about things like that, and I really don't like people that go on about, you know, I get followed around, I don't like it. You know, there are people in the industry that don't want to take everything that comes with being in the industry. I take it all. I know I'm going to make mistakes along the way, because you do, you know. Showing your life so public is a mistake sometimes, but I blame myself as much as anyone else. So.
And when was the point at which the pair of you, you and Katie, knew that there was more than bickering in your relationship, than that actually something was going badly wrong?
Would you forgive me if I don't answer that question? Like, would that be rude? But it's just that I just don't... There's so much to this. There's so much.
All right, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago?
Well, I have said in the past that, you know, this has been going on for a while, so...
Okay.
But please do understand that right at this moment, not today, I mean at this point in my life, there's so much I want to say. But I have to be careful, and I have to think...
Will you say it one day, do you think? Will you be tempted
I hope I
to
never
say
do.
it one day?
I hope I never have to say anything, because I've got to think of those... I've got to think of the future. I could keep saying the kids are kids, but I've got to think seriously that there's going to come a point. Internet is accessible to anybody. They can find anything they want. They can go back on... And I just don't think... I don't think it's the right thing to do.
What is the crew
don't
for
think
today?
Right. Well, obviously, we've been filming for the last... how many years now? 4.5 years, I think. And I've just carried on with the same crew, the same team. So, you know, what happens, I don't know. But, and it only started actually about 2-3 weeks ago when I went to Hong Kong for the Indian Film Festival. That's the first time we started filming. For the first 5 weeks, I couldn't even hardly talk, so it would have been dead filming. In fact, the first show, I think, my brother's going to snap out of it, and I just said, I can't.
And this is for a show that is purely Peter?
Yeah, I mean, it's just carrying on what we were doing. That's exactly what it is. It's, I mean, not we, because obviously it's...
Katie will have her own show.
Yeah, you know, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen, but I think we're just continuing and then seeing what eventuates out of that.
I see, of course, you still have your tattoo, Katie, on your finger.
Yeah. You saw that?
Well, it's hard not to.
Yeah.
But what will you do? Will that stay because it reminds you of the children, and after all, she is the mother of your children? And she, in her interview with Piers, did say, yes, I was stupid, yes, I did things that were inflammatory, yes, I was twit. You know, she took on her fair share. So do you keep it, or does it go? It's nowhere near a priority to get rid of something like that. I think that's something that if... Well, here's the lucky thing. In Australia, this is your wedding finger. In England, this is your wedding finger. Not that that changes anything. I'm not thinking about doing anything with it. It's, you know, at the end of the day, she's the mother of my children, and I have to... Not even I have to. I don't want the kids to pick up on anything. Not that they'd notice that, but it's not a priority, and I'd rather focus on other things right now.
Well, I think you're quite right, and I think that's enough. I think.
Thank you. I'm sorry. You can tell I'm shaking a bit because I just don't really want to say anything.
I think that is enough.
The kids are obviously your priority, and we know that you've written a wonderful song called Unconditional Love, and it's been reported